Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.
Welcome to Prairie Mosaic, a patchwork of stories about the arts, culture, and history in our region.
Hi, I'm Barb Gravel.
And I'm Matt O'Lean. On this edition of Prairie Mosaic, we'll meet a multifaceted artist, visit a Civil War museum, and listen to a musician who's making her mark in the Twin Cities. The Buxton and Bloom Grew a Church project is a community-wide effort to restore a 19th century Lutheran church in Buxton, North Dakota, in hopes that it can someday serve as an art center, hosting community events and music performances.
As an architect, I've always had kind of a soft spot for the historic rural churches. And I know we can't save them all, but I feel we need to save some. This one became most interesting because we had a family connection. It's not very big. It only seats about 100 people on the inside, 120. So it's not overwhelming or daunting to save the church. So I just feel that we do need to save part of our history.
I'm going to architecture school, and I got really into kind of the architectural history of kind of the vernacular of the area with the churches and the old schools and university buildings and stuff like that. I just think it's important to kind of keep that history.
On March 17th, 1879, 63 individuals started Grew a Church. They came here from Norway, and they have a sister church in Norway called Grua. So that's where it kind of got its name and got its start. In 2020, they were down to very few active families, probably 4 to 6 active families in the church here, and they decided that it was time for them to close the church. One of the gals that lives close by here in the summertime heard that they were talking about burning the church. Her family is buried out here, so she has a connection to the church, and that's when she became interested. Her name's Nancy Freese. She'd called me and asked if I was interested because she knew I was an architect in Buxton, but what she didn't realize when she called me is I love to do historic preservation work, but me and my husband were also married here, and my in-laws are buried here. We've been to a lot of activities. My mother-in-law played piano here for almost 40 years. Both of my sons, Coy and Jace, were baptized here, so I had a connection too. So when she was interested in saving the church and doing something with it, I jumped on board. So the Buxton and Bloom, the board of directors, we got together and we said, yes, we're in. Challenges are always finding the funds to do the work and finding those people that are willing to donate, and also finding people are willing to donate their time too.
There's no running water, so anytime we need any sort of hot water, it's drive over to our farm, which is a couple miles, and load up a plastic storage container that we filled full of warm water. That's always kind of been a struggle as far as keeping it clean. I used to clean with my grandma here when I was younger, and same issue there. You'd get your bucket of hot water so you can mop the floors from 2 miles away, which sounds kind of insane.
We plan on having 2 events here every year. Last year we had an event in July. We did fresh lefse on a Blackstone grill. My mom, my sister, and one of my sister's friends, we made lefse and lemonade, and we had kind of a closing ceremony. And the other event is we received a grant from the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and we had Waddington Brothers. They're from southwestern North Dakota, and they came and performed a concert here the last Saturday in October. And that's going to be another event that we want to do yearly, kind of an end of October fall concert.
It's been used for weddings for probably since it's been built, so kind of continuing that use, but I also I envision kind of the future concerts. It creates kind of an interesting acoustical setting with all the tin surrounded by it. The previous concert that we had a pretty good turnout.
Since the pandemic, we're seeing people just wanting to have more of those type of events close to home. We used to have to travel to do those type of events, so having some cultural events closer to home right here in North Dakota and western Minnesota, it's just a perfect spot. Our thought is to maybe have visiting artists, traveling artists could probably come and stay here for a couple weeks at a time and do some of their artwork at this location, and maybe we can have an art exhibit too. We would like to see it done in 3 to 5 years. That's kind of our goal. Our main goal this year is to get the roof redone. We do have a grant from the North Dakota State Historical Society that we're still looking for some grant funds for matching so that we can keep the water out. We're going to be painting the outside, so we're just really excited and thankful that we have other groups that are interested in being part of our project.
There's definitely some nostalgia. Sitting in the pews when I was younger, I used to sit there and shuffle my feet back and forth because they never touched the ground. So I get some memories like that, or watching my grandma play the organ here. There have been a couple times where I've played the piano for Sunday church service. The second I walk through that door, it just kind of floods my memory full of times like that.
I feel calm when I come to Grua Church. It just has this pleasant, calm, peaceful feeling. It's quiet, it's serene. It has the nice backdrop of the coulee with the evergreen trees, and you can see it from the highway when you drive by too. It's a little off in the distance, but it still has that nostalgic look.
Dawn Rosbach is a visual artist from Menahga, Minnesota. Her talents and experiences include artistic mediums such as painting, printmaking, and stained glass, all of which can be seen at Studio 176 in Park Rapids, Minnesota.
My name is Dawn Rosbach, and I am now a full-time artist and co-owner of a small gallery in Park Rapids. Studio 176 started with friends of mine, Jeremy Simonson and Laura Grismore, and Tiffany Bessinen was another person who started off the gallery with us. And that was in August of 2019, and then this year it seems to have taken off, really nicely for us. Sometimes when people come into the gallery, and a lot of times there's an audible gasp, like, wow, I didn't know this was here. And they just, you can just see them light up. And I think that's a really cool thing. I've always been into art ever since I was little, and took all the art classes in high school and kind of continued it, but then, my opportunities were not really there. And when I was 34, I went back to school, to college, and I was going to become an English teacher, but then switched over to art. And then after teaching for a bit, it was like, I need to be doing this as well, working as an artist and teaching it. Now I'm a full-time artist. I think one of the things with teaching art is I always was learning right along with the kids. There was no doubt about it that I always wanted to learn new processes, new techniques, and share those with the kids. But at the same time, I was growing right along with them. So I don't really focus in on one thing, and I think that I'm sure that comes from my teaching. But my personal ones, I'm probably mostly in painting, printmaking, and stained glass right now. Some of the themes in my art are definitely food. I have a series of recipe prints that I call them. It's recipes that are like ones from our family, like my mom's spaghetti, So then I create that visually, in the coconut cream pie, chicken Caesar salad, her vegetable beef soup, so those are all then visual recipes, so to speak. Some of the figures that I do are kind of these plump people. So I've done quite a bit with figures, but they're not cartoonish, but they're not super realistic either. Oh, how can I forget? The tree. The spirit tree, which has been a muse of mine for I'm not even sure how many years, but it's a tree that's located on Highway 71, about 5.5 miles south of Park Rapids. And it's this lone white pine. It sits very close to the highway. It's just one of these landmark trees that everybody knows. And so it became kind of my muse. And I've done, I don't know, probably 50, 60 versions of the one tree. I do really, really like oil painting. And I just returned to that maybe a year ago or so. Sometimes I will sit right down at the canvas with no intention and just start working with the paints and seeing what happens. The reaction of the paint is really enjoyable, and I can get really lost in that. Stained glass as well. How I got into stained glass is my dad did it first, and then when he passed away, I was the only one that could really take the equipment and the supplies because I was the only one that had room for it. So then I just started creating my own works. I call them the bevel made me do it. They're abstract kind of pieces, panels. What I'll do is I'll start with the actual bevel. The reason it's called the bevel is because these edges are beveled down, meaning add a slant on the edges. I'll start there and then I'll work around that and I'll start selecting the glass. Mostly I start working with colors that work together. And then I'll throw in something that's got texture to it. So I've got those components to make a really good composition. And then from there I'll grind the pieces and then I will foil them and then solder them, then patina and then polish. And then it's pretty much ready to go. But it's a long process, a small piece like 4 by 14 inches. That's kind of the shape that I use a lot. Probably going to take 8 to 10 hours total because there's much more technical process with the stained glass where you have to pay attention to what you're doing. And same with printmaking. There's a lot of similarities between those two in that they're both so technical and there's so many things that can go wrong. So I've been doing printmaking for 30 years. So I do linoleum blocks, I do etchings, I do wood blocks, wood cuts, wood engravings, copperplate etchings, I do monoprints. There's a whole variety of printmaking methods under the guise of printmaking. I think when I design, one of the things that I go for, especially with the block printing, is I'll look at the composition and then contrast, and then creating patterns. So no matter what it is, but each print, successive print, because you can do multiples of it, is considered an original print when they're hand pulled because the artist's hand is involved with it. Ray Bradbury from Fahrenheit 451 has this quote, and I know I won't get it right. Create something so that your soul has a place to go when you die. So I think for me, it's kind of that little bit of creating something so then if it's in somebody's home, it's kind of there. It's an honor to know that your work is good enough to be on their walls.
Visiting the Prospect House and Civil War Museum in Battle Lake, Minnesota is like taking a step back in time. Join proprietor Jay Johnson as he recounts his long family history and shares historical artifacts.
People have asked me what I would save if the place was going to get destroyed in a fire, what would be the most important thing to me. And I thought it would be the letter with my great-grandfather's blood on it. How does it get any more personal than that? My great-grandfather, Captain James Cap Colauer, started this place in 1882 when he built the first house in Battle Lake, and then he added this building here to it in 1886. It used to be the first resort in the area. It was a resort hotel. That's what they had before they had cabins. Then in 1929, when my grandfather, Ernest Wilkins, inherited some money, he'd married the Civil War veteran's daughter, and he completely remodeled this place inside and out in 1929. So this is the way it looked like in 1929. My mother left me this property when she died 14 years ago, and she'd spent most of her life trying to preserve her family home that she was born and died in. And I was the last of the family, so it was up to me to sort out 200 years of family stuff and figure out what to do with it. And I just felt after going through all of these things that it really needed to be a museum. The yard work alone is a lot. It's probably 4 or 5 times as big as anybody's yard in town. We've got 10 times as many trees, and the flower beds all take work. It's a large collection. Originally I found a chest with nearly 200 Civil War letters in it on the 3rd floor. Then I started to find things all over the house. One of the first things I found was a sling to his Enfield rifle, and I didn't know what that was. Then after a while, we got his rifle, a Spencer repeater, his sleeves to his uniform with bullet holes in each one. There are 200 Civil War letters. There's at least 14 original Civil War documents that were from the state of Illinois during the war. And his diaries, his notes and books. He made sure that his story of his Civil War experience is well documented. And if it wasn't for me, it probably would have been all lost. Cap was born January 28, 1842. His father was born in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and I think he already had a strong sense of patriotism and history interest right from the start. When the war started in 1861, he was in Philadelphia working in his brother's grocery store, and that's when he decided he wanted to join up. He was certainly a true patriot. That's why he enlisted. He wrote "Union Forever." He wanted to preserve the Union. That was his whole idea. And he and his brother enlisted together in the summer of 1862. Turns out he was part of one of the 3 most famous brigades in the Civil War, Wilder's Lightning Brigade of Mounted Infantry. I wanted to plot out his footsteps in the Civil War, so I got out this 1862 map of Civil War United States. The summer of 1862, that's when Cap and his brother David enlisted together right here in Mount Carroll, Illinois, just down the river from St. Paul and right next to Galena, General Grant's hometown. Cap and David went to Chicago and got on the train and headed east, got off the train and marched south on foot, got on the riverboat and rode down the Ohio River on a boat, went by Fort Donelson where General Grant had just had his first major victory. They both made it to Nashville, Tennessee, where David died of typhoid fever, and Cap nearly died. He was in the hospital for 3 months. Made it to Chattanooga and the Battle of Chickamauga, River of Death, where he was shot through the right shoulder. Chickamauga is the bloodiest 2-day battle of the Civil War, with 35,000 casualties in 2 days. When he recovered from being shot through the right shoulder, he was shot through the left shoulder at Muscle Shoals, Alabama, then back on the horse, fighting all the way, made it to Savannah, Georgia by Christmas of 1864, had his last battle at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, got on the train and headed home. Got back home almost exactly 3 years to the day from when he volunteered to fight in the Civil War. Some vacation. People absolutely love the museum, and we get about 1,500 people here through the summer on the average, and then we get another 500 or more on group tours and stragglers and tour buses and whatnot. And we try and do a lot of school tours for the schools. We've had 27 different school groups come through the museum so far, and I'd like every school in the area to send their kids here. This is a great learning experience. This is his diary, and the song that they were singing in it there is "Who Will Care for Mother Now?" If you survived the Civil War, it was because you were lucky. My great-grandfather was mayor of Battle Lake and justice of the peace. He was a public servant. He started the first Baptist church in town and started the cemetery. He probably was dog catcher and took care of everything else you could think of, too. It definitely is the history of my family, but I feel that it's representative of your family and other families in the area. This is our history. It's not my history.
Annie Mac was influenced by the rich Twin Cities music scene when she first started her music career. Today, her soulful blues sound has garnered attention from some of the top clubs, art centers, and rock venues in the Midwest.
If you know of an artist, topic, or organization in our region that you think might make for an interesting segment, contact us at prairiemosaic@prairiepublic.org.
You can watch this episode and many others on Prairie Public's YouTube channel, and please follow Prairie Public on social media as well. I'm Barb Gravel.
And I'm Matt O'Lean. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Prairie Mosaic.
Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.